I'm so glad that you said that. Oh yeah, it's the same like that. Also, it's a cool shot because they're both like straight for you. Reminds me of more Suleiman. That's dope. Okay.
Rain dancing on the front porch, so close to the river we can smell it. We are thirsty, beating a small drum, a tambourine in her hand, nothing in the air. We are thirsty, but our bodies are never dry. Our tangled limbs keep slick with sweat sweetened by coconut oil and white wine. Our skin is too salty on parched tongues. It is not the well water we desire. We need more to dip into, so we dance. Children of the Wadi who never learned to build cisterns. The leaves are curling, yellowing ancient Bibles in bookstores on their last legs. This town closing in on an era, and we are the final witnesses. Delayed in its fulfillment, it becomes mythology, a prophecy. Who among us is the prophet if all of them are dead? The last one came and went, so where do these songs and poems come from if God doesn't talk to us anymore? The wind quickens and dies, and the women feel it in their blood. The only relief is the moon, lavender and sage in our bedrooms, the circles we form, and the capped flesh we consume whole or in teas, the color of our skin. This garden is dying.
Girl, you need a fat chopping knife. Unless you have one and I just didn't see it.
Yumna, and myself actually, Shahrazi. Um, yeah, so Yumna, how do you feel about your poetry, and how about you just like introduce yourself in general since it was a little hectic earlier?
So I'm Yumna. I am a poet. I've been writing for as long as I can remember, and I started performing poetry around like 2010, I'd say. And ever since then, I do a lot of page poetry, but I really find power in spoken word poetry. And I'd always wanted to have my poetry accompanied by music. It's something I'd always envisioned, and it didn't happen. And well, it happened live a few times with some local bands in Oshawa, like Harry Holler and some pianists and stuff like that here and there, just kind of impromptu at an open mic or at a bar. But to have it recorded for the first time, it actually happened with you. Never happened before then.
Yay. And that was my first recording too, like me recording myself.
It felt so like super organic, really go with the flow. It was definitely it wasn't something that we sort of created with like an end goal. I feel like it really just slowly came to be.
Yeah. I don't know. We believed in it and it happened.
Yeah. Yeah. How does it feel for you?
Honestly, I love listening to it all the time because I feel like before we recorded the poetry and the music, like I still remember the poetry and I still remember like the feelings I feel or something. So I felt like it lived somewhere, like in a space and time somewhere. Like even though they weren't recorded yet, like I could think of them, and when I remembered the words I remember certain music, and like putting it all to getting to like learn how to become more technical throughout the pandemic and like discover how to like just record that and take all the pieces, take your poetry, take my beats, take guitar, everything, and make this little piece of a sound universe. And but it's not just a sound universe because there's so much like embedded in it. Your words are so visual and sensual and spiritual, and I feel like they go all over the place. Like it takes you on this wild journey, but at the end you're like, how does this all make sense? And so I keep wanting to like listen back all the time, and I don't know, I think it holds up. Like, yeah. And we did it live a few times, right? And I think uh I think it was cool to capture the live spirit or magic that we can do when we're just like alone together, or yeah, in our bedrooms, alone.
What you said about it being alive somewhere, even before we recorded it, because I wrote it after I moved away from Peterborough, like a couple of years after I moved away, but it was inspired by the music. It was inspired by the riff that I heard and by sort of the music surrounding it when I started writing it. And it's like when I was writing that poem, this memory, this feeling from somewhere that was still alive slowly just crawled out, and it was of this springtime when usually it's pouring, but it was just, I remember it was a dry Peterborough few weeks, and there was so much happening in life, and it was almost like what was happening in life was reflected in the weather, and we were all just waiting for the rain. And I actually remember, like, a lot of my writing will be veiled in metaphor, but sometimes the symbolism is quite literal. And when I remember it was like a drought, and we went to your front porch, and we actually tried to make it rain.
Yeah.
And yeah, so just stuff like that. I feel like intertwined. What you said about it still being alive somewhere during the writing process that came out.
Mm. I love making art with friends. I love your mind. I think you're a beautiful poet. If you guys want to hear the other song, or if you want to hear the recorded version of these songs, you can check out my album She They Zameen by Shahrazi. And yeah, there's 2 songs with Yumna. They're the first 2 songs because they're the best songs. And yeah, they're really great. Check them out and listen to them and play them over and listen to her words over and over again. And yeah, we'll have another video hopefully tomorrow or Sunday with the other poem as well. So yeah. So we're gonna I think we're gonna move on to Dawn Soul and play no. Sorry, we're also gonna play my videos. Hey Danny, do you have those? Sorry. We are coordinating. Yeah. What are you working on though, Yumna? Like, are you doing a book?
So yes, I've actually been working on my poetry book that I hope to publish. Self-publish, we'll see what happens. And it's pretty much like the draft is ready to go, but it's such a scary, overwhelming, huge process. And other than that, I'm still trying to work on short stories and just trying to be more in the moment of writing. And I don't know, I feel like not with COVID and everything, with the aspect of spoken word, live poetry taken away, I've focused a lot more on other forms of writing. But doing this with you was a nice reminder that spoken word is something that I really enjoy. And yeah.
Yeah, and you're so good at it. So please continue working on it.
I
I
will.
love whenever you share stuff on WhatsApp. I'm like, yes, girl.
Yeah, the publishing process is really, it's just like a totally new world, and I honestly don't know what I'm doing, but we'll see. I'll get there. Right
Life
now,
is long. You're on your way.
the editing process is the most meticulous. Editing work is like, oh, editing is a feat.
It's a nightmare.